Hey there, it's producer Steve, and I am hijacking the show today because I have something I want to share with you today, and I'm not telling Ray what I'm doing. So, you want to know what I'm talking about? I got to look down my buttons. Stay tuned. From Philadelphia, the home of the Liberty Bell, Financial Freedom Radio starts now. Here's your host, Raymond Jewell. Hey there, everybody, it's Steve, and yes, Ray is not here today. Ray is feeling a bit under the weather, and I told him the show must go on, and I've had a couple of ideas I wanted to do for shows for a while now. So I'm taking over the show today, and I'm going to talk about some stuff that's important to me, some financial stuff that's important, I think, to you, and hopefully by next week, Ray feels better. But if he doesn't, I got a backup plan. So anyway, before we get started, I'm going to just give you guys a heads up. I'm not used to being on this side of the camera for this long. I have my little control panel here that does all the fancy bells and whistles and things like that. So if I'm looking down, then it's me trying to control the buttons, and so you have to be patient with me. This is a technological challenge for me to be the star and producer of the show. So I'm going to work on that, and I'll hopefully give you some good quality information. Before I do, make sure that you have. So I hit the right button here. Yeah, there we go. If you're listening to us on audio, check us out on YouTube, youtube.com/Financial Freedom Radio. Subscribe to the channel and click the little notification bell. You'll get notified when we have new shows coming out. Also, check out our mailing list, financialfreedomradio.com. Sign up for our emails, our notifications when we've got things going on and whatnot like that. I think it's very valuable. Plus, it also helps the channel grow. So today, I want to talk about something that's very important to me. And it's on topic with the show, but it's a bone of contention between Ray and myself. Ray is not a fan of Dave Ramsey. And when you understand where Ray comes from and the big picture that Ray is working from, I get it. But I think there's some value in some of the things that Dave Ramsey talks about. I was a big fan of Dave Ramsey's. I was a big follower of Dave Ramsey before I met Ray, and then Ray opened my eyes to some of the changes and tweaks that can be made to some of his teachings along the way. But at the end of the day, um, there's some value in some of the things he talks about, and that's the part I want to talk about today. Um, if you're listening to this podcast, I would highly recommend. I'm going to hit the little thing again. You go over to YouTube. This is going to be a visual episode, so you can listen. But if you want to get the full effect, you're going to want to go hang out at youtube.com/Financial Freedom Radio and watch the video presentation of this one. So, what are we going to talk about? We're going to talk about something near and dear to my heart called budgeting. Ray tends to take these shows into a direction of big picture stuff. He's a macro economist, so I get it. I know where he's coming from. But I like to take them to smaller, bite sized chunks of things that people can do today, right away, to start moving themselves towards a financially free future. And it all starts with budgeting, in my opinion. And since I'm running the show, my opinion counts. So, what we do here in my house, and I've been doing it for probably about 15 years now, is we use software, and I'm going to show the software. Um, and it basically runs our budget for us. We don't look at our checking account balance anymore to see if we have money. Um, we don't look at can we afford to do this, which, by the way, I want to take issue with people saying I can't afford to do something. That's a very victimizing statement. That puts you as the victim when you're in complete control of where your money goes and what you do with it. What you should be saying is, I choose not to spend my money on that new car. You could absolutely go out today and get the new car. You can't say, I can't afford it. If you have a roof over your head and you have clothes on your back, you can afford the new car. So, a more empowering way and a more positive way to frame that is I choose not to spend my money on that at this time. So when you adopt a budget strategy and when you learn how to budget properly, then you can take a more positive view on your money and your finances. You don't always have to live paycheck to paycheck. Um, and a lot of people take budgeting as a how did I do? It's a reactive thing that some people do versus a proactive thing, which is what I do. Reactive being how much did I spend last month versus how much do I have to spend on this thing this month. So that's how we run my budget, and we're going to talk about that today. And the software that I use, let's see if I can do this right. Wish me luck here. Where are my buttons? Overlay me. Let's do this. Okay, there we go. The software that I use is called YNAB. You need a budget. And you can get it by going to ynab.com or youneedabudget.com. Or if you want to support the channel, you can go to financialfreedomradio.com/YNAB. That's an affiliate link. If you buy through that link, it doesn't cost you anything, but it does help support the channel. So that's ynab.com or financialfreedomradio.com/YNAB. So this is the software that I use. And this is the software that I've trained my children to use. And this is what's helped us over the past 15 years get out of debt, become more financially free. I'm nowhere near where I want to be, but I'm definitely on the path to getting there. And it's largely due to this kind of software. So this is more of a proactive budgeting software. And basically the way it works is they have a set of rules. Why, if you adopt this software's mentality, if you adopt this software's philosophy, then they have a 4-rule system that kind of dictates how you use the software and how you do the budgeting. And it's a little bit of a flip of how Dave Ramsey's focus is on budgeting with the goal of reducing your overall debt, which is something that Ray is not a fan of as far as lost opportunity costs, and you've heard the past shows. But I consider the idea of budgeting a good idea in the sense that it helps you understand where your money's going and help you get in front of those expenses. So what I'm going to do today is I'm going to talk to you a little bit about the rules of how this software works. And you can see kind of the basic gist and the similarities between traditional budgeting and YNAB budgeting, and how Dave Ramsey's thought processes fit in here. So I think it'll be fun. So let's go ahead and take a look at the first rule of YNAB. And the first rule of YNAB comes up, and they call it give every dollar a job. So basically, the way it works is when money comes into your life, you get paid from a paycheck, someone gives you birthday money, whatever the case may be, however money enters your life, you immediately assign it a function. It doesn't matter what that function is. It could be going to groceries. It could be going to the rent. It could be going to play money. You give it a job to do. So at the end, when you've gotten your money coming in, you have every dollar is given a job. And then whatever job you give it, you stick to the plan. So rule number 1, get some dollars. Rule number 2, prioritize those dollars. And then number 3 is follow the plan. So you have to commit yourself and you have to be consciously aware of where you're spending your money so that you don't deviate from the plan you're setting out for yourself. So that's rule number 1. Rule number 2 is embrace your true expenses. So when you're first starting out, you think you need money for this, you think you need money for that. You really don't have a good, clear picture of where your money is going until you start living this lifestyle for a month or two. And that's what embracing your true expenses means. Basically, you think of it this way. If you have like we live in a community, so we have a homeowners association fee, and we know that that's an expense. So what embrace your true expenses means is instead of waiting until December to pay that, we put a little bit of that money into that category every single month, so that when the money comes due in December, we've already paid the bill. because we've been setting money aside. So that's what rule number 2 is. Embrace your true expenses. Um, did your car break down? Are the holidays coming? Christmas money is a big thing. People always wind up buying everything on a credit card because they didn't plan for it, and then paying off the credit card with high interest debt uh, throughout the course of the year. And we're opposed to what we do is we set aside a little bit of money from every check into the Christmas club. We call it a Christmas club, into our Christmas category, so that when Christmas time comes around, the money's already there for us. So, rule number 2, find big, infrequent expenses, create a goal to fund it every single month, and when that expense arrives, you just pay it. It's really a brilliant strategy. Rule number 3, roll with the punches. Um, with roll with the punches, you acknowledge and accept and embrace the fact that you're not going to get it right. My nutritionist always tells me, get it right more than you get it wrong. And that's what roll with the punches is. So you may budget $200 for groceries and actually spend $220 for groceries. So you've spent more than you budgeted. It's not a problem with this software and with this strategy, because what you do is you may have budgeted $100 for shoes, so you simply take $20 out of your shoe budget to cover the hole that you created in your grocery budget, and now you have $80 to spend on shoes. So it's really a great way to accept the fact that you're going to not always stick to your budget. No one ever does. I've never done it in 15 years, but I know that if I don't, I simply move money around to cover it. And it's kind of, I think Dave Ramsey uses the idea of envelopes, putting money in envelopes. And we did that for a while with Christmas. When we would take our Christmas money out, I would put so much in an envelope for my wife, and I'd put so much in an envelope for my kids. And then when that money was gone from that envelope, it was gone. Well, that's kind of how this software works. So then you've got rule number 4, the final rule, and that is age your money. The ultimate goal of this software is to get yourself to a point where the money you're taking in this month pays the bills for next month. So that if, God forbid, something were to happen, you were to lose your job, you were to get laid off, you were incapacitated and couldn't work, your bills are taken care of, because the money that you need to pay this month's bills you earned last month. And it takes some time to get there. We weren't able to get there for a very long time. I think it took us probably 5 years to get there. So it's not something that happens fast, but it's the long-term goal, and that's what they call aging your money. When you start to use this software, or you start to use a budget, even if you don't use this software, you're going to start to become conscious of where you spend your money. And then you're going to be able to, one of the reasons people get fat is unconscious eating. You just eat and you don't even realize you're eating. Same thing with spending. When you spend and don't really realize that you're spending, you wind up spending more than you have, and you live beyond your means. When you start to budget, when you start to use software like this, it forces you down the path of being aware where your money is going and spending it purposefully. And then as you do that, you'll see over time that more and more of your, and it's really weird how this works, because it just seems to happen. As you start to become aware of where you're spending your money, you're going to start spending less, and more money is going to get freed up. And when more money gets freed up, you go back to rule number 1 and give that money a new job, something that benefits your life, something that benefits you, and not just something that's a reactive thing. We build an emergency fund, so that when we have an emergency, we've got the money sitting there for it. We don't. If our car breaks down tomorrow, we take it to the garage tomorrow. We get it fixed tomorrow. We pay the bill tomorrow, because we've got the money set aside in a bucket specifically for emergencies. So that's kind of how the software works. Those are the 4 rules of how it works. What I'd like to do now is just kind of walk you through a quick and dirty little demo um, of how the software works. So I've got that pulled up here. So it's a web-based application. And again, you don't have to use this software. I just swear by it, because we've been using it for 15 years, and we love it, and it has saved our financial lives because it made us aware of where we were spending money. We're now actually at the point where our money is more than a month old. So we're able to take the money from this month and pay bills 2 months out in the future because of this. So we're able to get ahead of our finances. Okay, the ultimate goal being, right, 6 months worth of reserves. So if something happens, you've got the bills covered for 6 months. So we're working towards that goal. And as we move down that path, we're able to free up some money and do some of the things that Ray talks about, investing it in gold or investing it in silver or buying more insurance with it. Um, but it all starts with being aware of what money you're making and what money you're spending. And that's what this software does. So when you first install the software, I'm looking up at the screen. You're seeing it here, but I'm looking up here. Um, what I did was I just created a new budget, and this is what comes up when you create a new budget. Give it a name, currency, US dollar, number format, pretty standard stuff. You really don't have to change anything here. But when you do that, this is where it starts you. So it starts you with some basic categories that you can put money in. Immediate obligations, rent, electric, water. So this is kind of a tickler, a way for you to kind of think about some things that you may not have already thought about. True expenses, debt payments, quality of life goals, just for fun. So you can add additional categories. This is not my budget. This is just a sample. You can add categories that make sense to you. Maybe you have a gym membership. Um, Maybe you have a car payment and you want to put that there. Well, it's already there under auto loan. Whatever it may be for you. And then they have the stuff I forgot to budget for. So remember, I told you rule number one is give every dollar a job. If you don't know where to put money, you can put it here. And then as you go to rule number three, which is roll with the punches, if you become deficient in a category, you can use this to pay for that. And I'll show you this real quick. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to create an account. And this has the ability to link accounts to US and Canadian bank accounts. You can see that you can have, let's see, where's the add a new connection? American Express, Chase, Discover. It has a bunch of them. You can put them in, even smaller ones. But for the purposes of the demonstration, we're just going to do an unlinked account. And we're going to create a checking account, and we're going to call it checking, and we're going to start with a balance of 0. So there we go. So the software then switches to a transactional look as opposed to a budgetary look, because this is where you're going to add information in. So let's say I receive $100, and let's call it today, and let's just call it paycheck. Let's say I get paid, let's say it's $500, the category. Since it's money coming into my life, it goes into this to be budgeted category, and I put under the inflow, which is money coming in, $500. So I'm going to save that. Okay, and we'll stop right there and we'll just let that sit. So now if I come over to my budget, you will see up here at the top, I have $500 to be budgeted. Okay, that's what it's telling you. So now we go to rule number one, which is give every dollar a job. So I'm going to put, I've only got 2 paychecks coming in the month. I get paid every other week. And I know my rent is $400. So I can't put all of that into the rent for right now. Remember, rule number 3 is embrace your true expenses. Or is that rule number 2? You can go back and watch the video. Embrace your true expenses. So what I'm going to do is, since I've got half of the rent in this paycheck and half in next paycheck, I'm going to go ahead and put in $200. And what you'll see is I now have $300 to be budgeted. $200 is sitting into my rent category. And now I'm going to put, let's say, $50 in for groceries. I'm going to put dining out, because we're going to go to a restaurant. I'm going to put $75 there. I'm going to have some fun. I'm going to put $50 in to just have fun with. And that leaves me with $125. I'm still new at this. I don't know what I'm going to use it for. So I'm going to put that here. Okay? So as you can see, I now have no money to be budgeted. All of my money is now budgeted into categories: rent, groceries, stuff I forgot to budget for, dining out, and fun money. Now, obviously, this is a very simple explanation, but you get the basic gist of it. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go buy groceries. So I'm going to go back to my checking account, and I'm going to add a transaction, and I'm going to go to Walmart. And since I'm buying groceries, I have to give it a category. Well, I'm going to give it a category of groceries, where I've got $50. So I'm going to put in the category of groceries, but I didn't spend $50. I spent $75. So I'm going to save that. Okay? So now I have $75 going out of my life, going to Walmart. Now let's take a look at what that does to the budget. Okay, you can see right here, my grocery budget is now $25 in the red. So that means I've overspent that category. This is what I had budgeted. This is what I've spent. So now I'm going to have to pull $25 out of this to cover that. So it's very simple to do. I simply click on this red number and it says, where do you want to get the money to cover this? Well, I want to cover this with stuff I forgot the budget for. Okay, it will now take that to 0, ups the budget amount to $75, and takes this down to $100. If you'll notice, my to be budgeted is still 0 because no money came into my life. That's when this gets adjusted, but money did leave my life. All I've done here is roll with the punches and move it from one category to the other. So by living this way, I don't ever worry about what's in my checking account. And you can see the checking, I can see it here, but this doesn't matter to me. This number's irrelevant because what I'm paying attention to is I cannot buy any more groceries until my next paycheck. Okay, I still have money. Now, what I could do and what I could have done was if I dined out, let's just show this as an example. I'm only dining out once this week. I'm not adding an account. That was dumb. I'm going to go back to my checking account and we're going to go to Grotto's. It's a little Italian restaurant where we live, but I'm going to call it dining out. And we spent $35 there. Okay, so I come back to my budget. You can see I have 75 budgeted. I spent 35, leaves me with 40. Well, I'm not dining out again. I know I'm not dining out again until the next paycheck, so I can take this money and I can leave it here, and when I get my next paycheck, just not put anything into this, or I can click on the $40 and I can move that to stuff I forgot the budget for. That will take the dining out category to 0 and change this category to $140. So now I have $140 that I can spend if I go over my budget. And if I don't, I just leave it sit there. This becomes my emergency fund. This is stuff that, in fact, what I would probably do is rename this emergency fund so that as I have expenses that I didn't account for, I can handle that. So anyway, that's pretty much, let me get out of this, hang on one second. There. That's pretty much what I wanted to show you guys. I'm trying to keep the time short. Again, I know that this is a very visual lesson. If you are listening, I highly recommend you go check out the YouTube video. Let me click the little button again to bring that back up. YouTube.com/Financial Freedom Radio. Click the subscribe button. That helps the channel and helps us grow and helps us get the word out to more people. And click the notification bell. So that's what we wanted to show you this week. Hopefully Dr. Ray is feeling better next week. If not, I'm going to dig deeper into this software and we're going to talk about how to use things like credit cards and things like that. This is a very simplistic example that I just shared with you, but I think it's a very effective one. But we can dig deeper into this if Ray is still feeling under the weather next week. So anyway, thank you all for watching. I really appreciate it. I'm not really used to being in front of the camera for this long. Hopefully I gave you some value. If I did, please leave some comments on the YouTube channel. Let us know what you think. Let us know if this was helpful. Do you like this style of content? And we'll see what we can do to help you out from now on. Anyway, thanks a lot, guys. I hope you have a great weekend, and I'll talk to you next week. Bye-bye. Thanks for listening. Please remember to subscribe to the podcast. If you want to learn how to create real sustainable wealth like the extremely rich people do, or maybe you just want to sustain the wealth you already have, you need to check out Dr. Ray's new book, Why the Rich Are Rich. Ray's been coaching clients for 35 years and has completely unlocked the secret strategies that rich people use day in and day out to grow and sustain their wealth regardless of what's going on in the economy. His book is completely free, and you can get it by going to whythericharerich.com and entering your email address. Again, that's whythericharerich.com. Head over there now.